And welcome to the home version of the Coach's Perspective here on Riverside TV as we bring you all of the big games coming up every single week here in the city of Riverside. And I'll tell you what, we've had a great season so far. Coming into our third week, which is week 4 officially, as we have some great games coming on for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We're going to have it all for you here on Riverside TV. And we are now joined by my best friend in the entire world, outside of my children and my dog and my 3 cats, is my best friend, Pep Fernandez. How are you today, Pep?
It sounds like I'm up there pretty high, not at the top, but pretty high, like I was in the top 10 at least.
Well, yeah, I have, I run like a farm over here at Stately Gorham Manor. And I have dog Thor, and then I have the 3 cats, and then I have 3 boys, one of which you probably heard in the background, like he was yelling at the dog. But hey, Pep Fernandez, how fun have we had so far in Riverside TV in these first 3 weeks, 4 weeks? 4 weeks, but we're on week 3. Is that what that is?
So we've played 4 weeks. So we're going into week 4, which is technically 5 weeks. So remember, don't sleep on week 0. I won't even mention week 00, because if we do, that's going to really complicate, everything. But yeah, this would be technically we're going into our 5th week of football, but week number 4. Dude, it's been great, Jeff. I mean, especially for the Riverside schools. We've seen Norda Vista go off to an undefeated start. King also. Pauley and Hillcrest are also having great seasons. They look like they're going to be serious contenders also for league titles and also CIF runs. So I know it's still early on in the season, but you can, by this time, as we get closer to league play, you can already see which teams are going to have, pretty successful seasons. And there's a lot of them here in the city of Riverside.
Well, there are. We talked about last year, we had 6 participants in CIF. All 6 teams won, I believe, in that first round of the playoffs. That's been 2 years in a row. We've also had 3 straight CIF championships, if you include CSDR twice, and then Ramona last year, and then Arlington 3 years ago. We've had ourselves a lot of success.
Yeah, and with the fun part, Jeff, is you never know, like from season to season, like who's going to be that team. We saw Arlington, we saw Ramona. Pauley got to the championship game. So like whose turn is it this year? Like maybe it's King, depending on their playoff division. Maybe it's King this year. They went so far last year, going to the semifinals. That was a heartbreaking loss. But the fun part is like we've got a number of teams that look like they could make deep runs in the playoffs and have a really long, successful season.
Well, I'll tell you what, there are 2 dark horses in that for me, and I think I'm going to pull this out of the hat, and I think you might agree with me, or if you don't, let me know, I'll tell you that my first team I think that can win a CIF title, and this is going to be great, is Hillcrest. I think Travis Carter has almost set up in a perfect spot. They're in a great new league. If they can get into the playoffs, if they can squeeze in at that 3rd spot, maybe at large, they could be the Ramona of this year's CIF run. And then there's another team I think is that nobody thought about, and we're going to talk about them again, is the CIF champs from 3 years ago, and that's Arlington High School. They are way better than anybody anticipated. If you're including Luscious, Lincoln, Liggett. I'm telling you right now, the basketball player has been a difference maker. Their quarterback is dynamic. And I think Arlington could be in the same spot they were 3 years ago and possibly get a CIF championship.
Yeah, Jeff, what is going on? Norda Vista and Arlington are actually throwing the football, and they're doing it really well. Like both these teams traditionally, especially Norda Vista, they run the ball heavy, but both teams have actually had some success, in the passing game. Arlington, when they went all the way, won the CIF, went to a state championship game, it was that pound cake offense, where they use a fullback and they had a lineman too back there. And now they're throwing the football. And the same thing with Norda Vista. They've had some of the best rushers we've ever seen in the Inland Empire, like record-breaking, running backs in terms of yardage. And now they're throwing the football too. So it's kind of fun to see these 2 teams who are kind of breaking the mold of what we're kind of accustomed to. But I'll say this too, going back to Hillcrest and maybe Arlington as those sleeper teams to make these deep runs in CIF. I'm not trying to put words in any of the coaches' mouths, but I will say this. I've heard from a number of coaches in inside Riverside and outside Riverside across the IE that, a lot of these teams are playing for league titles. A lot of other teams are just more concerned about CIF runs. So we've seen the recipe, right? We've seen it. Ramona did it. Nearby Harupa Hills in Fontana did it. That you just barely sneak into the playoffs, just be like that third place team, or in Ramona's case, the fourth place team as an at large to get into the playoffs. And based on that playoff division, you're set up to make a really deep run in the playoffs. So that's kind of been the recipe. Like a team might have a great season and they might go 8-2 or 9-1 or 10-0 and win a league championship, but then they lose in the first round, as opposed to a team who just gets in the playoffs. They get a little bit of a lower division, for the postseason, and they go and win titles. So it's kind of this weird dynamic we have right now based on this new playoff format with the CIF Southern Section.
We'll circle back to this a little later on the show when we talk about Norte Vista, because I think there is an anomaly there with Norte Vista this year. But like I said, Hillcrest, Arlington, I mean, if they can get in the playoffs, they could do some damage. But we have to talk about our big game of the week, our juicy game of the week, as we used to say on the Inland Sports Show. The rivalry among the little big game, or the biggest little game, biggest little big game in City of Riverside, and that is the rematch from last year's CIF championship game between Riverside Ramona, who were the champs, versus Riverside Poly. What are your thoughts? I mean, that's a fun game. We saw King and Poly on Friday night. This, I think, could be even bigger because they are the two oldest schools in Riverside.
Yeah, I mean, we said this on the Friday night pep rally this past week, that this time around, compared to the CIF championship game from last season, this time around, the Bears and Rams, this will probably be a lot closer of a game. And I don't want to steal Coach Mashinsky at Ramona High School's thunder. We're going to hear from him in just a moment. But he was telling me that, Poly is, don't look at their record. I think they're like 1-2 right now. He's like, don't look at their record. He's like, they are so good. They are so big and strong up front, and they've gotten a lot of great quarterback play in different positions. He's like, they're really good. He's like, don't look at their record. He's like, they are really good. And he was not surprised that Poly battled King that the way they did. He's like, they're legit. And he's like, if Ramona doesn't have a good game, the Bears might sneak up on them. And maybe for Poly, it's not sneaking up on them. Maybe they know they are that good. They're better than that, what their record indicates. And on the flip side, Coach Mashinsky and the Rams, they're 4-0, but he's like, the good part is he feels like they haven't even played that well. He feels like there's still a lot of room for improvement. So if you're a Ramona fan, you're like, great, they're 4-0. But he feels like, even going back to last week, they beat Rancho Mirage only by 1. And he's like, we should be a better team. We're going to be a better team. They just have to still figure it out.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to the matchup. You're gonna laugh. I'm an offensive guy, right? We always talk offense. My best defense is my offense. But I'm going to tell you this. I think the best true football player in the entire city of Riverside, and everybody might yell and scream at me, but I think it is the defensive player for Riverside Poly. It's Benji Matthews going against Sincere Tolbert, who is a great running back. I'm looking forward to that because I think he's going to spy on Sincere all night long, and they're going to make Ramona pass to football. They're going to test that Poly secondary. And I'll tell you what, they're pretty darn good. They got Gaines in deep, patrolling the defensive side, and then you have several other guys that are super athletes on that side of the ball. I'm going to say I'm the biggest Ramona homer in the world, but I think Poly could get them this Friday night, and it could be, I think, the closest game on Riverside TV we've had all year.
It's going to be awesome, and I'm so glad we have this on Riverside TV. I'll say this, Jeff. Again, I'm not a football expert. I just play one on TV. But the lower the score is, will play in Poly's favor. If they start scoring a lot of points, I think Ramona will have more firepower, and they'll outscore Riverside Poly. But I think the lower the score is, the shorter the game gets. If they can manage the clock and, not keep the ball out of Ramona's hands. Again, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, right? This is how you win football games. But I think the lower the score will play in the Bears' favor.
Yeah, if they can control the clock, eat time. I think they had a 6-minute drive against King the other night. They nearly beat King, and King came out and blew the doors off early, but Poly, they just chipped away at the game. If they don't miss a couple extra points, they're right back in the ball game. It's a tie game. We could be talking about something different. That could have been a Poly victory very easily. But Ramona, my dear friend Ken Mashinsky, I think you met with him earlier this week. Can we go to his interview?
Yeah, I just caught up with him, and just asked him, hey, what do you think about Pauly? How have you guys been playing this season? And he's got a ton of respect for Pauly. In fact, it sounds like he thinks the Bears are better than last year's team. And this year's version of Ramona, again, they're 4-0, but he's like, don't be fooled. He's like, we're good. We're 4-0. We're good. We've been winning football games, but we've got so much room for improvement. So here's a quick soundbite from Coach Mashinski talking about his Rams and the big Solar Series matchup with Riverside Poly coming up on Friday on Riverside TV.
I think the biggest thing was just the lack of having time off. We played a 16-game season and went into Christmas break, and it's like we came back and started immediately. This is a whole completely different team. We have great kids, and they're working super hard. But it is a different team, and we have to take it one game at a time. I know it's very cliche-ish, but that's what we're doing, and they've done a good job. Again, we haven't played our best. We're hoping we take it out and get Pauly this week. Oh man, we are excited. Anytime we get to play a Riverside school, especially when it's Riverside Poly, there's just an air of excitement. I know they're coming off of a big game versus King. It was a great crowd, and we're hoping that we have that same energy, that same excitement on Friday night when Poly comes to Ramona and we play them. Again, the Solar Series, very historical for the city of Riverside, and two pretty storied programs, Riverside Poly and Ramona. And, the fact that we played last year and ended in a championship game, it's just beautiful for the city and for both schools.
Pretty exciting for you guys. I mean, you're 4-0, but you feel like, man, there is still a lot of areas that you guys could get better in, huh?
Yeah, we were just talking, I was showing film today to the boys, and I said, we're winning, we're 4-0, but we have yet to play a complete game. And we're going to work real hard this week to prepare for Poly. They are very, very good and definitely well coached. They have some studs on both sides of the ball. They have good size. It's going to be a battle for us. We just need to play a complete game and hopefully take it to them.
All right, Jeff, so that's Coach Mashinski talking about the Bears, talking about his team. And again, they're 4-0, undefeated on this season. But he feels like the best is still to come with this Rams team, which I guess if you're Coach Mashinski, that's the good news, right? They're already playing well, but he feels like they could still be a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have Bo Bruins anymore, but he has Sincere Tolbert. He's got Shiner at quarterback. Very athletic, as you can imagine. But this Poly team is gritty. They're tough. They play a lot like their head coach, Jerron Gilbert. He was an NFL stud. I mean, he's a tough man. You walk up, he intimidates me, Pep Fernandez. He intimidates me, for God's sakes.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, because it's a rivalry game, it means so much. And the fact that they met last year for a championship, it just kind of heightens that rivalry, kind of builds to the lore, right, when these two schools get together. And now they're both set up to have a good season. Again, Poly's probably a lot better than what their record indicates, and maybe Ramona, not to say they're not as good as a 4-0 team, but maybe they still have a lot of room for improvement. I don't know. Maybe they'll battle Norte Vista down the road. I know we're going to talk about the Braves in just a moment, but now that Ramona versus Novi game seems really juicy in River Valley League play in a couple of weeks.
It does, and we have to remember we have a Thursday night game this week versus our dear friends. You know who I'm talking about? You know this guy right here? Do you know who that is? That's Jason McMains.
Yeah, that's your guy.
We have my dear friend Jason McMains going against Marietta Valley. And I'll tell you what, going into the season without Bachmeier, everybody said that they were going to contend with Centennial this year with Bachmeier, but their running back has been pretty darn good, hasn't he?
One of the better running backs in the Inland Empire. So without looking at Jason McMain's playbook for the King Wolves defense, I'm sure like near the top of that list is, man, we got to win the battle in the trenches and we got to stop Dorian Hose, because if he goes off, I mean, he's had big games against everybody so far. He's one of the best running backs in the area. So, not having Bear Bachmeier, are they going to throw a little bit less? Yeah, probably, right? Because he's like an all-world quarterback. But for Marietta Valley, the good news is they've got one of the best running backs in the area, so they'll just run the ball more and have long time consuming drives and keep the ball out of King's hands. So again, without looking at Coach McMain's playbook, you've got to stop Dorian Hose if you're going to have a chance to beat Marietta Valley.
I agree there 100%. But remember, they have Derek Johnson's on that staff out there. His son's on the team. You have Lance Pfeiffer, all of these Riverside guys that are coaching over at Marietta Valley. but I will say this: the wrath of Khan, great receiver at King. He was fun to watch last week. He's playing his natural position as a one receiver. He was playing quarterback after, fill-in duties. But I'll tell you what, King is. They were my first favorite team in all of the city, but now they are now my second favorite team in the city. And you know why that is?
I don't know.
Ken Batdorf is doing an amazing job. I think this could be his best team he's ever had at Norte Vista, and that's saying a lot in his 88th year of coaching at the helm of the Braves.
Yeah, he said that before the season began that, again, if the stars and the moon align and they reach their potential and all these things happen, they could be one of the best Norte Vista teams he's ever had. But, it's funny, Jeff, is like some high school coaches, they'll say like, oh man, we're going to be really good this year. And, we're going to be strong here. And there's other coaches that take the opposite approach. And I think Steve Spurrier, the old ball coach, used to be like this, where they would be playing some team that you've never heard of, like, I don't know, Troy or the Citadel or something like that, when Spurrier was the head coach of the Florida Gators. And he'd say, if we don't play a complete game, they might get us. Like, we might lose this one if we don't come out there, with our A game. And then they'd go on and blow out that team like 58-3. Like he was just like, I don't know if he's using the media or whatever to be like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I hope we have a good game because we might lose this one. I'm trying to figure out where Batdorf fits in. Is he saying like he's trying to hedge his bet and say, we're going to be okay, but if we don't play a good game, we're not going to have a good season. Where do you think Batdorf falls?
Well, you mean the king of coach speak is what we like to say is coach speak. But no, I honestly, I think if you look at Ken Batdorf, he's run that smash mouth double wing offense for years. He's had great running backs. He always has an amazing offensive line. But this year, I think what he's doing is, what's cost him CIF championships in the past? They couldn't throw the ball and they couldn't score in bunches. So now you have a guy, Seth Bolander, who is a very, very good high school football quarterback. He's throwing a ton in his preseason schedule. And I'll tell you what, it's doing numbers. They're 4-0. I predict them to be 10-0. They beat Great Oak last week, which is a huge win for Norte Vista. They are the real deal, and I think they're the best team in the city. And until Granite Oaks or Granite
Hills,
Granite Hills beats them or anyone else, they're the best team in Riverside. I'd love to see them and King go at it, but right now I say Ken Batdorf has the best team in Riverside.
And I will say this: you might say like, "Oh, Jeff's saying Norte Vista is the best team in Riverside." Like, look at their scores. They barely beat Fontana. They barely beat Arroyo Valley. In Norte Vista's case, the numbers do lie. They're a lot better than what those scores indicate. Those games were really not that close. So you can't judge, Norte Vista just by the numbers here. Norte Vista is that good. And the fact you brought up Great Oak, Jeff, the fact that they went on the road and they beat Great Oak down in Temecula, I think speaks volumes. Great Oak might be the, toughest test. I mean, Ramona's going to be tough too, but Great Oak and that non-league schedule, man, the fact that they went down there and they beat Great Oak, I think, kind of resonated with a lot of local football fans. Like, okay, Novi's legit. This is a Great Oak team that won their league last season. The Big West Lower. So that was a great Wolfpack team.
Yeah, and just think of it this way: you can all say Ken Batdorf, you should have beat Fontana by 100. You should have beat Arroyo by 100. But what is he doing? He's throwing the football. He's doing something different. And why not? You gotta give him credit. I mean, his kids, he's playing as starters, but they're throwing the football. They're working on it's. Look at it as a glorified practice. Not to besmirch any of these teams, but for them to be better, they have to do different things. And Seth Bolander has worked so hard as a quarterback. And those everybody, you talk about the Roadrunner, all the good players that they have.
King Butler, he had that crazy touchdown catch against Great Oak.
They're very deep, and Ron Main, the former athletic director, best friend of Ken Batdorf, said, you got to play, but make yourself better. So I'm telling you, he told them go 10-0. And I believe in Ken Batdorf. I believe in those kids because I see them every single day. They're going to go 10-0. And I think they're going to be set up for a very long run in the playoffs. Hey, by the way, I talked to Ken Batdorf today. Can we get to that interview?
Yeah, so I talked to Coach Mush, you talked to Coach Batdorf, and just all I'll say is look at what he's wearing. I don't know, does he wear this to school every day? Is that his
Yes,
normal
that's
school
Ken
attire?
Batdorf.
All right, here's Norte Vista head coach Ken Batdorf talking to Jeff earlier.
All right, so after 4 weeks, we're 4-0, and I'm pleased with that. We played some really good teams, specifically Great Oak. They were a lot more physical than we expected. They came out and battled, and I didn't think they would do it that well, and they did. And hats off to the kids and the coaching staff there. This week we have homecoming, which is always chaotic and kind of a cluster. We're playing Granite Hills, who's 3-0, and we're 4-0, so someone's going to be beat for the first time. We're hoping it's them. They do things well. They do a lot of RPOs. They run the ball well. They throw the ball well. They have a very, very good quarterback. Their defense is very, very sound. So that presents some problems for us. We're trying to get healthy. We got a couple of kids dinged up against Great Oak. We're going to be missing Fabian Bukava, who's our Sam backer, and Andrew Delgado, who's one of our defensive tackles. So that kind of presents a little bit of a problem for us, missing 2 guys on defense, and I'm sure they'll try to capitalize on that. Other than that, it's homecoming. We're expecting a great crowd. So as far as Norte Vista's passing attack, I think people know that we're a passing team. Okay, no, we're not. But we can throw the ball. Seth Bolander's been fantastic for us. He's completing over 70%, I think 75% of his passes. He's making great decisions. The thing that people do not realize, and if you really watch film on it, you'll see Seth is an incredibly physical football player. He'll get out and block in front of running backs. He's a great leader in our huddle. He knows the offense inside and out. And Seth is hugely important to us, and he's doing a fantastic job, not just running the offense, but throwing the ball and running the ball. I'm Batman.
All right, so we signed off with Ken Batdorf saying, I'm Batman.
Hey, do you remember this, Pep? I know we got to hurry and get out of here. Remember this?
No, what was that?
It's Batman.
Is that what?
It goes this. I'm Batman. I'm Batman. Hey, Pep, we have.
Yes.
Before we go here, we got to mention a couple things.
Yes.
We have 4 games on Riverside TV this week. Let's start with our Thursday night matchup. It'll be, we already talked about it earlier, Martin Luther King versus Murrieta Valley. Gazal and I will be on the call. Friday, we have a doubleheader. Nick Rice and our person to be named later.
Ooh, mystery guest.
Yes, a special guest will be on the Granite Hills Norte Vista game. And then the big game, the big little game of the century for the Solar Series, Gazal and I will be on the game for Ramona versus Poly, the rematch of the CIF championship. And then Saturday, we have Go Cubs they're playing, listen to this. How many times you heard about CSTR losing in the last couple of years?
Not very often.
Okay, guess who's beat them the last 3 years?
Well, I had it right. Remember on the Friday Night Pep Rally, I was telling Coach Rice, I'm like, I think it was like a 1-point game or something
It was
like
a 14-12 loss to Maryland School for the Deaf. And I'll tell you what, we are going to break that 3-game losing streak. We're going to take over California once again because Maryland, you are not the best. You have Coach Adams, you have his son, and you have a cavalcade of stars that will dominate Maryland. We're going to have that game at 2 p.m. on Riverside TV, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be fantastic. But before we go, Pep, I know you have the Inland Sports Machine, which we talk about every single week on the greatest TV show ever in the city of Riverside, the coach's perspective. But you have the Boost Top 25. Can we say this? I'm going to make a point. Anybody who responds in remarks, I will answer the questions, why they are in the order they are besides the Inland Sports Computer and Pep Fernandez. Norte Vista making the biggest jump of the week. They are the real deal. Do you agree with that, Pep Fernandez?
100%. After that Great Oak game, I was all in. I'm like, I'm a believer. They're 4-0. You can't get lost in the numbers. You can't look at their scores against their other opponents. They are that good. And, again, could they go 10-0? Are they going to beat Ramona and all those things? I think it's going to be a lot of fun the next couple of weeks. But Novi is that good, and they deserve to be in the top 10. I mean, because when you look at 11 through 25, I'm looking for someone to emerge as like another top team, and some teams have had some ups and downs so far this season. So why not Novi? They're 4-0, and they deserve it.
Well, we're going to sign off on the coach's perspective here. But before we do, remember, watch Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And Friday night, the hijinks of Pep Fernandez, myself, on the Pep Rally. It should be in quotes, like the Pep Rally. You get it? We have all the, what do we have? All the scores, the highlights from across the world.
And analysis. I think, in fact, I was looking at the rundown, putting it together. I think we're going to have probably 13 or 14 games that we'll have highlights of.
And we have a guy I thought that died, literally died yesterday, but he's going to be in studio. We can't give it away yet.
He's doing great. He's doing
great. I mean, they're naming a football field after him, for gosh sakes. But I thought he died yesterday, and I called him just to give his wife my condolences, but he answered the phone and scared me like a joke.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
We're going to have a great show. I'll just say this. Bill Powell will be in studio. We're going to have you and I, which is always a pleasure.
Of course.
Absolute pleasure. Scott Brocious will be behind the booth. Jason might be there. We know Kono, who's always there, will be there.
The audio engineer. Put some respect
audio
on
engineer
that. Yeah.
And he's like a utility ball player. Who's your favorite utility baseball player of all time?
You would say Sean Figgins. I will say
Sean Figgins.
Jose Oquendo.
Oh,
No. Tim Tuffle.
Okay, Tim Tuffle's better than Jose Oquendo.
Yeah.
Now, can we do this? Can we put up that the last graphic, the boost, top 25? And I want to say this to everyone. Good night. I'll see you Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for Pep and I and the entire award-winning production here at Riverside TV. You have enjoyed the coach's perspective for another week. We will see you on the greatest show in the world. Good night, everybody.